welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, with their podcast host Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we had a scheduled interview with someone, and they did not show up. So um, that is kind of the problem with, say, oh, I don't know, just scheduling stuff months in ahead. Is that life happens, and sometimes people forget to either say, "Hey, I can't make it," or "Hey, are we still doing it?" and so on and so forth. So we kind of end up in weird situations like this where I'm scheduled, I'm ready, I'm getting everything up and going, and then I'm in the studio, just like, all right, pause everything else I'm doing and just sit here in the studio like this for like who knows how long. And then it gets close, and then it's like, oh, I'll just get a little distracted and wait for my peripheral vision to change, get a little signal, saying someone's here, and then, oh, hey, someone's here, let them in, and everything. And then I was like, oh, but what time is it? And I was like, oh, okay, it's past that time. So I was like, well, I'll give it a little few more minutes and everything because that has happened. I have had someone pop in like 10 or 15 minutes after the scheduled time, and it was one where I hadn't closed out of the studio for whatever reason. I think I was getting ready to do an impromptu episode, and then they popped in, and I was like, oh, well, hey. And I don't remember how I was really feeling on that. I think I had mixed feelings. But the point of that is I need to do my follow ups before, uh, preferably a week before, which means I'm going to be constantly talking to people because I have people wanting to be on the show and I have people already scheduled for the show. So it's like checking in, like, hey, are we still doing it? Hey, are we still doing it? Hey, are we still doing it? And then doing it and then scheduling. And then, wow, like, there's whenever I first started this podcast, I was like, why do people stop the podcast? This is so easy. It was not easy. I was just like, I don't see how people can like do it and then not do it. But at the same time, I was doing it completely different than a lot of other people were doing it, and it's done well, and it also hasn't. But the more guests I get, the more into it I get, the more I realize, oh, this is definitely something that like would be great to have two or three people help with, like behind the scenes kind of thing, or even being on the show. But and that's the other thing is that I have so many ideas that I want to do, and it's like, do I stick with this brand? Do I stick with this podcast for all of it? Or do I just make a separate like YouTube channel and all that? And that can be the everything else idea pile. And I'm thinking about doing that, but I don't know. Because everything right now is tied to the podcast. Because it's, I don't know. But anyways, what we can do about this is, well, just staying on top of it. And it's a lot of work. A lot of work. I've talked about this before. Everyone is probably tired of hearing about it, but I just got to get my schedule like packed in line. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to like pause everything and just say I'm not taking in new podcast interviews or anything, new appointments until the end of November. And then from there, it's like, hey, if I take in guest interviews, it's only on these days in between these hours. And then that will free up every other day to do whatever the editing, the post production, all that stuff. So that may be what I want to do, but at the same time, it's like I'm impatient. It's like if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, and it's because I have that mentality of like if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, and it's one of those things that just got got to get that discipline, 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 discipline. It is one of those things that I have a bad relationship with that word. And so, because of that, it really does keep me in a state of apprehension of a sorts. Because in my head, whenever I hear discipline, it's like, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm doing bad, I have to be reprimanded, and so on and so forth. And that's not necessarily the case. Discipline is really just kind of sitting there saying, hey, this has to get done. I'm going to do it because it needs to be done, kind of thing. And that is kind of it. Like, I know there's a lot more to it, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm in trouble. So, self discipline, in a large part in my brain, it will say self discipline equals I am bad. I am reprimanding myself for things that I did or did not do. And that's not the case. Self discipline is sitting there saying, like, hey, I know I'm tired, but I got to do this. So I'm going to get up and do it anyways because I can. But if I'm physically incapable of doing something, I don't need to force myself. So, for anyone out there that may be dealing with disabilities and sitting there beating yourself up because you're like, I should be able to do this if, or I want to, and you physically can't, don't beat yourself up. Trust me, I'm right there with you. There's times where I want to go hiking and stuff, and I can't do it because my foot or leg just will not allow me to do it. So it's kind of one of those I have to figure out things to do aside from that. But I digress. So, uh, I don't know. This podcast has been one heck of a ride. Let me tell you what. So, that's why I want to do a lot with it, but I don't know. So, and that, like, I already have a gaming channel, and I've done like a few streams of what was it, Outlast and Amnesia. I've also done streams of like Headliners and Lethal Company, but it's just streams just like, hey, like it's I'm just playing. It's something to do while I'm doing it, and it's like it's just fun. I have had a little bit of an audience like on the Outlast uh, streams. That was pretty fun, but aside from that, it's like no one really pops in and watches. It's just fun. It'd be cool, and like whenever I look at my inspiration and inspirations, I should say, and I see either the podcasts or the let's plays or just other content creations out there. It's like, oh man, this is so cool. Like I have ideas, and I just have a really hard time at. So, for instance, like the podcast, like the recordings and stuff, like even the solo episodes, even this one right here, I have ideas of how to make it pop, how to make it cool, how to make it great. I'm not that good at editing. So it's like I have to dedicate a set amount of time, not necessarily a set amount of time, but like a set time to work on editing and only editing for achieving a result that I want. And it's a lot like drawing. If I want to draw well, if I want to create works of art, then I'm going to have to practice and practice and practice. And it's not going to be like the finished result is not going to be what it is in my head. And I have to understand that with this and the microphone and the computer and all that, just it will come out. That was a really weird, like, something just went past the microphone. I don't know if y'all heard that. I did. Unless that was someone slamming a door upstairs, which it could have been. Anyways, what was I saying? Um, that the finished product is not going to be what it really is in my head, at least not at first. And I can get it damn close. But if I don't do it, then it's not going to happen. But it's like I'm having that impatience. Like I want to be good at it right away. I want it to have already been edited before I start editing it. I want it to do this, that, and another. And I, it just boils back down to I'm impatient, I'm lacking self discipline, and there's some other stuff that I don't know yet. And that's okay. And that's okay. I have to remind myself that I don't need to know the answer necessarily. Like, yes, it does help in achieving certain results because then it's like, hey, I know what's wrong. I know it's bothering me. I know which direction to go. But I said this a little bit before another solo episode was saying that it's okay to not know. what's bothering me at this point because I can drive myself up a wall into another crisis just trying to figure something else out. And it's like, just relax, let things flow. And I don't know, it's really weird. Like, I can have these brain shifts. Like, I just had one where, like, my body physically relaxed a little bit and I feel more me ish, kind of, if that makes sense. I don't know. And I, my brain has been doing all sorts of like rewiring and healing and stuff over the last 3.5 years that I'm just now starting to really, really, really feel like I'm me. Um, and it's because I've gotten curious about myself. It's because I've gotten uh, did a non-judgmental about myself. Nah, I'm still a little bit there, but not nearly as bad. I don't really do a lot of the things that were holding me back in some regard, even if I wasn't aware of it. Um, but that's the thing is that I'll still do those things. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I said, hey, it's gone out of my life forever. No, a lot of the time it's like, hey, it'll pop up and maybe I'll entertain it for a little bit because it's a familiar thought. It's a familiar thing. And so it's like, hey, I know where this goes. But then it's like, oh, yep, nope. Hey, I go back this way, get off that trail, go back home. Not home, but you know what I mean. Um, so it's something, something, something. It's always something, right? And if it's not one thing, it's another. And who was I speaking with? Was it Zoe that we were talking about how things will be like going fine, like mind, body, spirit, everything feels good. And then in those moments of peace and stuff, that's whenever the proverbial snow globe of our lives get shaken up, just like, and that's what happens to me. It's like everything will be settled out, fine, and good. And then something comes along and shakes it all the way up. And it's like, holy crap. And then as I'm picking up the pieces, everything starts settling down, and then it settles down, and then it gets shaken up again. And it's like, why? And a lot of it has been because of the things I've done in the past that like consequences or just a buildup of actions and consequences, so on and so forth. Like a, a snowball effect that happened like 20 miles away. Like it's one of those things that I don't know what bogs me down until I take a real good inventory. Um, and not just once, like time and time again. Like, okay, well, that didn't work. Okay, well, maybe something else is a little off. So, and that's one thing with the podcast too, is that like people are going to be talking about similar things or the same thing, but they're going to have a different perspective on it. They're going to have a different outlook on it. They're going to have a different experience with it. They're going to implement it different. And that's great because everyone needs to hear as many sides of everything as they can. And so, even my own, I wouldn't necessarily say beliefs, but my own thinking has definitely changed. Hearing a lot of different perspectives and ideas, and it's funny because some of them go in line with my own, and it's like, sweet, this is confirmation. Um, but it's also more of a like, hey, this is okay. And then there's some ideas that have been brought to me that I'm like, I don't really know about that, but it makes a little sense. And that's the thing is that I'm not trying to force their thinking into my own. I'm sitting there saying like, well, from my perspective, their thinking is either this or that, but there's still common ground somewhere in there. So let's find that and explore that because then we can find out, hey, we're actually on a lot more of the same page than we thought. But um, whenever I have a guest that just uh, Uh, it's not even about the guests. It's usually about me. Sometimes I have episodes where it's like I am so excited for this episode, and then I underperform in my own head. And then there's times where it's like I don't know what to expect from this episode, and it blows like everything out of the water, like freaking awesome. And then there's episodes where it's like it goes exactly how I thought it would, and it's still good. Um, I have had a few guests where I was just like, man, like not not like a bad way, but it is just like not what I was expecting, you know. So it caught me off guard, but that was one of the things is whenever I was still newer to taking guests and stuff, so I did not know what to expect. So it was weird. I didn't know what to expect, and by not knowing what to expect, I somewhat expected that I should not expect anything, and then was still flabbergasted by what I got. Not flabbergasted. That is a very strong word for just being mildly confused. So, anyways, um, I don't have a lot more to say on this one. I talked longer than I thought I would about gibberish. So, yeah, this was mostly just because I jinxed myself on accident. I even said like on the after take with Zoe, I was like, "Hey, we have an interview, but I'm not going to say their name or what time because I don't want to jinx it." So just saying I have an interview just screwed it up. So from now on, just expect episodes. Don't know when, don't know how, don't know if it'll be online. It'll be on your phone through the Wi Fi. And don't think too much into it. I like playing stupid. Trust me. Um, and I had to learn the hard way. Whenever you play stupid and people think you're stupid, then it's like, "Ugh, son of a bitch, I'm not actually stupid. I'm just playing stupid." But then you kind of, if you learn how to work with it, it's like, okay, la la, la, I'm stupid, I guess. But yeah, so I've learned don't play as stupid as I can play stupid unless I'm needing to play stupid. So, uh, eh. Sorry, got a hair in my mouth all of a sudden. Oh, speaking of hairs, like, I got gray in my beard. I got gray hairs down here, and I got gray hairs in here. Like, you actually may be able, yeah, look, right there, and right there. Like, I got actual white gray hairs growing, and like, can't see the ones down there, but there is one somewhere in here too. I may have pulled it out, but I don't remember. So I'm getting old and it feels weird. It actually doesn't feel as weird as I thought it would. Like that's the weird thing about getting old. That's the weird thing about getting weird. Yeah. Okay. The weird thing about getting old is that it happens so gradually that one day you just break. And you're like, what the fuck? Um, I'm trying to think of a really good analogy, like something that you use in the house a lot, and you don't notice that it goes away, and then eventually it just fucking breaks. Or it could be like that thing that someone else uses and breaks, and then they put it back together just enough so that the next person that uses it thinks they broke it. I got a new chat message. Wisdom hairs. Yeah, yeah, wisdom hairs. That's what they're called. Sure. Um, but like I don't have any up here. In Jordy, it's really strange. Jordy has like a patch of white, like just right here. The strangest thing, just like little white patch, just showed up, and her hair is turning more this color. It's funny. But yeah, now my beard's turning white slowly. So, literally one hair at a time. I guess that's just how it happens, huh? Um, but it's yeah, like that one is somewhere in there. Like you can kind of see it in person. You can see it, but anyways, I digress. I digress. We're going to and see like so that was one of the things is that I want to do like streamer stuff. So like maybe on a day of the week, I just do like 2 hours of streaming, and it's not necessarily with just a podcast or anything. It's just streaming. It's like, hey, like, watch this. We're going to, oh, say, why don't we go to, here, what do I do? Screen. So we can do this. I could just be like, hey, we're going to browse Reddit. What the fuck is that Cybertruck? Is that real? That's your lawyer's car? Oh no. Don't. No. You're not okay. You're. Oh my goodness gracious. Like, why does that look like it's a video game? And it's so bad. But see, like, I could do this. Like, just say, hey, like, learn real cool stuff. Like, this is what a buoy looks like in the Atlantic Ocean. That's really cool. And then this, an act of racism. People sitting there just trying to. I watched this earlier and it was trash. It was very scary. I don't want to be the people in the car, and I hope the people chasing them and trying to get them out of the car are sentenced with stuff. And they were actually charged with some stuff. I don't remember what, but it was not worth what they did. So I'm thinking about doing stuff like that, like just scrolling, just commenting on stuff. But at the same time, it's like, what's the point? Um, what's the point? Because it's fun. Um, some people get really big on it, some people don't. Like I already have a podcast that's going, so like, and speaking of growth with it, I've got 83 subscribers on YouTube. I was like, holy shit! Like, what the fuck? Like, when did that happen? Let me see. Is that still valid? Is that still the number? Because sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. It's very strange. And let's see, 82. So it went down. I lost a subscriber. That's okay. But it's really interesting. Like some of the episodes themselves don't get that many views. Some of them do, some of them don't. Um, and by views, I mean like uh 12, 9. It doesn't help that they're also like spread across, like here's a video, here's like audio. But some people just don't want to watch it, and I totally understand. Um, but some of these, I'm just like, damn. Like, what's a good episode that, like, Reflections of Emotions and Healing with Sammy Cox? That has 0 views. Why? Why does that have 0 views? That one has one. Reflections of Emotions and Healing. That's so strange. And then, like, this one, Tapping Through Healing with Amy Events. That one has 0. 0. So I'm sorry. I don't know. Part of me is like and maybe it's because the thumbnails. Like I don't know. Move that. I've never been able to figure out like what draws people in, what keeps people on the show. I don't know. I don't know. That's why I had an intro, and I was looking at the retention, and people were listening, and then at the 30-ish second mark, so like right before, right after the intro, bam, they stopped listening. And I was like, what? And I got rid of it, and then they started more, and now it's like I part of me is like, yeah, I want to make it good, but I've got to focus on my post production. I think now, like my recordings, my interviews, that is flowing a little bit better. I think it'll be easier to go with the flow with brand new guests. I am starting to step into myself as a podcaster, as a person again. And so I watch a lot and get distracted with something to pretend. Like, oh yeah, no. You're entirely correct on that because I'll sit there and watch my favorite content creators, and I'll forget to hit like or leave comments and stuff. So I know that people will sit there and forget to do that. Like, there's a reason why people will do call to actions, and it's like, hey, hit like, hit subscribe, go over here, go over there, because if you don't tell them to do that, they people will not do it. They'll just be like, all right, next thing. But if I tell them to do that, some people do that, and so it almost feels pretentious to be like, hey, hit like, hit subscribe, go ahead. But at the same time, it's like, if you want more content like this, you're going to have to. Uh, so it is definitely one of those things. I need to get better at my call to action. I need to get better at I need to have anchor points in the show. I need to have a solid intro, a solid middle part, or the call to action, and then the solid endo, what? Ending. Um, and so it would be, that would also be the other call to action, or like their shout outs and stuff. So I think if I can get like three sticky notes, one right here, one right there, one right there, and have little timestamps on them. But then my timestamp thing is up here, so I got, it's a whole lot of work that, like, I don't know. Like, I'm piecing it together. I don't think if I followed a formula or anything like that, that it I would have kept going, because I would have been like, I'm not following this perfectly, and then gave up. And so this way, I'm kind of like, I can look at other podcasts and be like, what are they doing that I'm not? And for example, the podcast I was on, Social 333, uh, it was really interesting because, I mean, I walked in and I was immediately blown away because it was just a studio. It was a studio, like, kind of like this, but bigger, and an actual table. And the microphones were not on this kind of stand, but lower. Um, and like, instead of this little webcam, I mean, I'm talking big cameras sitting there with the like little red light on them to let them know, like, hey, this one's recording. And so whenever it started, I was like, do I look at it? No, look at the person. um, and but that's the thing, is that they have an editor or producer, so they had someone in the other room listening to everything, adjusting the audio settings and all that. And then you have the guy that's asking the questions, and so the guy that's asking the questions isn't sitting there doing the post production. He's the one that's helping guide the episode how it should be. And then you have the guy doing the post production, and so probably a two-man show, maybe more. I don't know. And so that was kind of the thing, is that I was like, whoa, a lot of cool equipment and two guys. So if it's just them two, they do a great job with their editing and stuff. Um, but the thing is, too, is that my ideas for my podcast turn more comical, if you will. They turn more um like, I want it to be very um engaging in a sense. And the best way that I can say it is, my editing dream style is like that of Markiplier in the Distractible podcast. Like, in their thing though, is that there's more of a game show kind of situation. So it's hilarious. It's always funny. But I'm not talking about like, I want it to be funny editing. I want it to be like, well, I mean, I guess it would kind of be funny, but at the same time, I want it to be very like, I don't know how to describe it. And that's the thing, is it's very intense, maybe not intense, but different. I just want people to be able to watch the podcast and have a different experience. But the thing is that I'm going to have to create that in the show, like while we're recording it. And some people aren't going to be in line with that. because their personalities don't match the editing style I want to do. Does that make sense? Kind of, but I don't. No, it doesn't because post production, the editing, the host, all yeah. So I have a lot more work to do if I really want to get everything to where it's at, where I want it to be. And so some people are like, "Hey, we'll edit an episode for you at $100," and I'm like, "Fuck." I'm like, I kind of want that whenever it goes up into the DC Fairfax area, but I'm not about to dish out $400 every month, you know, uh, for that. Not worth it. Not worth it. I'll gladly uh grab this mouse and have it tell me its secrets of how to make everything on the computer work exactly the way I want it to work. But it doesn't work that way, so I'm just going to have to actually do something about it. And I have so many things I want to do. Again, nightmare. Not enough time in the day to do everything I want to do. So instead, it's easier to just freeze and do nothing. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead um and see. That's what I mean. Just like I thought, let's go ahead and end it. And then I was like, but I want to do other stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah, I actually have real life stuff that I have to do that I put off because I had an interview. Now they're not here. And so I can go do what I needed to go do. And it's mostly laundry. It's laundry. I'm not going to lie, it's laundry. So, with that being said, I think it's okay to like go ahead and call it for now. Um, I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast. Yeah, no stomach. Shush. Um, it's one of those things. One of those things. I'm getting better at learning my body and stuff. That was weird. Oh, why did? Hmm. I don't know. That was a weird notification. Um. Anyways, I'm going to eat breakfast. I'm going to do laundry. You have a great rest of your Sunday, and as always, check us back. Well, and see that's another thing. I can't say as always and like always, whatever. Well, I can say like always. Like always, just be a good person. Much love. Shalom.